concept of hope, and how not to lose it. Joe was not just one among many in the greatest generation. He was the kind of man who evokes prayers of, "Please God, make more like him." Francis Franny Moore had the metal of old New England running in his veins, the kind of grit that could make a man want to found a nation. Extraordinarily gifted as a surgeon-scientist, he was also extraordinarily gifted as a leader, and he had vision. He could foresee the promise of organ transplantation as a viable treatment for devastating injury and disease, thus opening the gates for the monumental first organ transplant in 1954. But that was not all. His understanding of how the body reacts to surgery still affects every patient who comes through a hospital door. It was said that when Franny entered a room, it was like being in the midst of a full-scale orchestra performing a roof-raising symphony. He was that commanding. Paternal, wanting to take over and fix everything for everyone, he was loath to waste a minute, as if time and suffering were his enemies on the battlefield of sickness. Even his secretary said of him that Dr. Moore lives life on a different plane. In short, he was like many esteemed people in history. He didn't have to do what he did. Born wealthy and privileged, he was driven by that elusive trait that we all wish for ourselves and for our children and yet can't quite name. Simply put, get off your duff and pursue excellence for its own sake. He would become the youngest surgeon to ever be named the Moseley Professor of Surgery at Harvard. Peter Medawar. How can we even grasp the whole of who he was? After witnessing a Spitfire crash near his home in Oxford, England, during the Battle of Britain, he became so haunted by the suffering of the burned pilot that he focused his brilliant mind on unveiling the secrets of the body's immune system to supply long-lasting skin grafts. His learning to bamboozle the body's system of defense to manipulate rejection established the new field of science, immunogenetics. In fact, Peter would make such a monumental contribution to the understanding of human biology that he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Medicine when he was only 45. So here is this story, blending the horrors of war with the boldness of youth and the clenched-teeth defiance to not relinquish hope. It begins in December 1944 and will continue to be told well beyond today. Because borrowing life to extend the lives of those suffering from organ failure has enabled scientists of the present and future to apply the immune system's exquisite power to treating cancer and other ravaging diseases. War. What is it good for? Beyond the absolute answer, nothing, there is that other little nudge to find ways to preserve life. When historian Edward Gibbon wrote in the 1700s that hope is the best comfort of our imperfect world, he knew what we humans were facing. No, this is not quite a fairy tale, but it is close. The main difference is that the villain is not human. It's death. Shelley, Fraser, Mickle, Spring 2020. Part 1. 1. Joe. The wounded came every day. They came straight from the front lines, from Europe, Africa, Italy, China, the Pacific. They came by trainloads in railroad cars, stacked in bunks one over the other. Brought into the wards on gurneys, they soon swelled the Valley Forge Military Hospital in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, into the largest in the United States. 3,000 patients. 100 buildings. Tunnels connected the buildings to outfox the weather. Day and night the staff never stopped moving. That fall of 1944, a young man briskly walked through the halls. Like all medical students in America, he had been drafted after Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor. Slim, athletic, a few inches under 6 feet, Joe Murray was swallowed up by the official uniform of all medical personnel. At a distance, you might even mistake his heavily starched white coat and pants to be walking on their own. At 25, after only 9 months of surgical training, he had been assigned to Valley Forge to await overseas duty. When first called up,